Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to Lucid Living TV. My name is Osset Iyowaku, and I'm here with a very, very special guest. She has come back. We are here with grandmother Earthkeeper Selina, Earthkeeper Selina Mu, and she considers herself an earth walker of the ancients, an ancient healer, and a spiritual mentor. She has been here with us plenty of times before. It's always a pleasure to have her back. She reached out to me a couple of weeks ago, and it was just an honor to hear from her and some of the things that she actually wanted to express with us today, some things that were on her heart. And of course, I am here to always support these messages. So I am very honored once again, always a pleasure to have you here. Grandmother Earthkeeper Selina Mu. Got to say the whole name before we get into just say, hey, Selina.
There you go. There you go.
Yes, but welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here once again. We are here after the solstice. So there's just a lot of just intense energy still going. You know, people are still feeling just a lot of the intensities of all of the cosmic energies and alignments. So yes, welcome.
Deep greetings to you, Asad, and to each of those who will be listening to this wisdom talk, I'll call our connection, our conversation today. I'm very happy to be here, and it's a joy to see you in your joy and in your peace. You're just radiating a lot of goodness, and it's lovely to see that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to us having a talk and just seeing all that is needing to be spoken, what we are to share at this time. Yeah.
Yes, and when you reached out at the perfect moment because as I was going through some, closing some, we're tying up some loose ends just with my personal journey, as we spoke about before on the last video that we did, my grandmother journey. My grandmother's birthday was actually last week, and my mother's passing, her anniversary was last week, and my daughter's birthday was on the solstice. So there was a triple aspect to the whole divine femininity and the growth within that being, just showing itself outwardly. So you reaching out during that time, it just meant so much to me. So I know that when we spoke, you said that you wanted to go through some topics. And just before we get started, I just wanted to do an overview of what we'll be discussing today. And I know one of the main things is you wanted to get into tree medicine and plant medicine and healing through that, and not just healing through it, but just maintaining that aspect of spiritual wellness and just health, all around health with herbs and tree medicine.
Yeah.
And you wanted to also get into where mother is in her birthing process from a conscious perspective and from the perspective of the body within itself. Definitely look forward to that conversation as well. Also, you wanted to get into connecting with the heart space through unity consciousness. Always great to talk about the heart space and expressing unconditional love from that space. And this is definitely a time where it is much needed to connect to that space just within ourselves so that we can share with each other and uplift each other through these frequencies. And so yeah, definitely look forward to that conversation. And divine feminine healing. There was a post that you posted something a couple of months ago which grabbed my attention, and you actually mentioned Magdalene and the journey of Magdalene. And there was a welcoming in and a healing that you were speaking of on social media. So that grabbed my attention. So I definitely want to touch on that aspect of healing through the divine feminine as well. And bringing in the divine masculine in the conversation as well, because, you know, there's clearly that support between the two. And lastly, and never lastly, but lastly, spiritual abundance. You know, I express to you that every time I speak to you, I always get this vibe of, or just knowing that the spirit of lack doesn't live within your space, you know, and I've always, no matter what struggles I've been through just personally, even outwardly, I've never really tended to that aspect of myself. It's never really creeped into the point where I felt lack. And so I can relate to you on that level. So I would love to talk about just feeling abundant on the inside spiritually. So yes, so we have a lot to talk about.
Do.
Wherever else we are led, we will go. But for now, there's a very sacred drumming that you would like to bring us in with to just clear the energies and just bring in the gratitude from the ancestors as well. So I'll just let you take it from here.
Well, thank you. So this is something kind of special that just recently after a very long period of time, I had my drum painted. And in the tradition of my lineage, one of my lineages, when one paints their drum, it's called dressing the drum. So I had my drum dressed in the sacredness of the path that I am on. I am White Buffalo Woman in the star realms. I am White Buffalo Woman, and White Buffalo is carrying the frequency of unity consciousness. That is why I've been called upon by the ancient ones to walk with this name. They are the ones that bestowed the name upon me. I did not choose it for myself. At the time, it was a mystery to me of why I was carrying it because I didn't have the teaching behind it. But so I had this beautiful drum, and now she's all dressed. I wanted to share
That
with
is
you
so beautiful.
how she's
It
come
is so
through. And yeah, so I wish to sing with her a welcoming song. I feel like that might be a good way to open this with it's a chant, but it just is a way of calling the gathering together and welcoming each who come, both from this realm and others and other realms as well. We're welcoming those who will be joining us here today, and I give thanks for that. Mm. Yeah, oh, well, 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 hey, well, yeah, oh, well, 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 hey, well, yeah, oh, well, 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 hey, hey. Yo ho, well, 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 eh. Yo ho, well, 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 eh.
That was beautiful. Thank you for that.
It's also recognized and acknowledged as a woman's chant. So I just wanted to add that piece. But thank you. Just something to just say we've gathered, we're gathering and we're coming together, opening our hearts in a good way. And it's lovely to be here.
Thank you once again for that. And I feel like what we're gonna go into as far as our conversation, it's a great frequency to bring us into our conversation in speaking on mother's rebirthing and what that looks like from your perspective, because there's so many ways that we can view rebirthing, whether it be consciously, spiritually, through body, through mind, body, soul. And one of the things that I can definitely say, even with my personal journey, and again, looking to the grandmother and the mother and the daughter, is that what I've been realizing in knowing that when grandmother is pregnant with mother, right, which is her daughter,
Yeah.
there's daughter who has the egg of her future, right, within her. And what it's been feeling like, even with my personal journey, again, I can only speak from my personal perspective, is there's a coming out of the womb that allows us to grow up, right? But there's now, once you're out of the womb and you've grown up, there's a now growing in that takes place, which allows us to go back into that form of going back into the womb and becoming the baby in the womb again, and then now fully embodying the mother, which is really grandmother in a sense. And it's not really reversing or going backwards. It's just embracing the original source of self by going back into the womb and realizing that we never really leave anyway, right? There are just different layers of what that womb feels like. But growing up, I feel like, is a way that we get to know ourselves in the world. And some people do get lost, they externalize everything because they've come out of the womb. But when you get to a certain point in your journey and you realize, okay, now it's really time to journey back in, which feels backwards sometimes, you realize that it's really another part of that wisdom seeking that happens after one has grown up. So that's kind of like how I've been seeing. If I knew how to draw that out, I probably will. I'll find a way. But I just see such a beautiful image of growing up and growing in, growing up, growing in, and how that all just comes together as such a beautiful process of growth within itself. So with that, I would love to hear your perspective on mother's birthing process and how you feel about that.
Yeah. Well, perhaps I'll begin by sharing a little bit about what I'm experiencing around the birthing journey and what that experience, how that is so significant in this time that we are in. We are in a time of great expansion. In fact, let me just, if I may, share a little bit of my story so that people can get an idea of the perspective that I'm carrying. Those who perhaps have never heard me speak or only heard me in little tidbits here and there.
Share what you'd like to share. Absolutely.
Little sound bites, perhaps.
Yeah.
I carry an ancient wisdom that was that I received during a spiritual retreat that I undertook in 1990. It actually started in 95. I entered into spiritual retreat. At the time, not knowing how long that would be, it would come to be 8 years. And it started with me experiencing these very powerful dreams. As I was awakening, my spirit was awakening, and I started this healing journey in 1990. It took me to this place of having these, I call them visionary dreams or medicine dreams, where these ancient ancestors began appearing to me in my dreaming. And it was very powerful. They would sing these powerful healing songs to me. And through that grew a connection. I determined that somehow, some way, I was going to break through those realms where they were connecting with me from and receive their help, because felt very separated from myself, very much in need of healing, very confused about the world and my place in it. And what was I even doing here? What was the point? This was back in 1990. I just didn't have these answers. And when they began appearing in my dreams, I thought maybe they could help me sort it out. So I began to sit every day. I had never heard the word meditation, so I didn't know what I was doing. I was sitting, connecting, opening myself to Source Creator, asking for help. And it helped me to connect with who I found out were my ancient ancestors that were reaching out to me. I'm not sure how long I sat like that, how long it took, how many months, but after a long period of time, I was able to break through those realms, and they began to teach me. and they are still with me to this day.
Mm.
Those things that I share are through this ancient wisdom that has been passed to me, and those experiences that I've come to uh, is what brings me the understanding that I have of who it is that we are, and and who it is we are that we are becoming. I don't I don't have all the answers. I'm learning and growing as we all are, but that which has been passed to me up till now has been fairly significant in guiding me in being a support to Earth Mother, who somewhere along the journey, she too became one of my guides. So I work with the divine intelligences of creation.
Mm.
That those divine intelligences exist within us, within the stars, the moon, the sun, within the earth, within the trees, within the waters. We have the ability, we have been given in our spiritual inheritance from Source Creator, we have been given the ability to access that intelligence, that divine cosmic intelligence and earth intelligence that we are the living embodiment of. We
Mhm.
are a part of it. So it is through there that I have been able to establish a clear connection and communication of that which is the piece that I'm to bring to serve with. Each of us have something, a gem, something precious and powerful and sacred that we're to bring through.
Mhm.
Um, so this is part of my experience. And in birthing has been a birthing of ourselves, the rebirth of the Earth Mother. What does that look like? What does that feel like in this time?
Mhm.
How does that affect what we are experiencing in this time right now today? Because we are being influenced by it all. This rebirth of Earth and all upon her is a great awakening. It's a great, well, as the ancient ones say, it is the time of the renewal.
Mhm.
For all is being renewed. So I first experienced this directly in a powerful vision that I had some years ago. Well, we're going back several years now on my journey, somewhere in the mid 90s, where Mama, my guide, I call her Mama, Grandma Turtle, I also call her Grandma Turtle. Um, I got summoned from within the inner realms.
Mm.
And my ancient ancestor, one of the stars, was sitting under this old grandma, sitting under a tree. And the tree was a tree of life and a tree of rebirth. And it was sloped, it was kind of sitting atop of a slope. And Mama was sitting there with her legs straddled, and she motioned for me to sit in between and lean into her. And
Mm.
when I did so, she pulled, well, first we connected with our breath. So it's good to really connect with the breath to go into those other realms and receive. So first she and we connected and synchronized our breath, because I was nervous, like, what's happening? What's going on? Am I really experiencing this? What am I doing? Mama's really here. Like, you get all this excitement. The way she calmed me was through the breath. She
Mhm.
slowed my breathing down so that I could synchronize with her breath and her heartbeat and my heartbeat. And then once I was in that more peaceful state, she took my arms, and we were seated on a slope, and leaned them back my arm, lifted my arms up, leaned me back into her, and she had the tree supporting her while she's supporting me. And when I lifted back, all of a sudden I felt these pains in my womb, like I'm in my belly, and I'm like, something's happening, what's going on? And I felt my legs straddle, and I felt this overwhelming urge to push, and I'm pushing and pushing, and I realized I'm giving birth. And mama is my grandmother, is she's there helping me to she's my midwife, helping me with the birthing. And as I'm pushing, by this time it's full on, this birthing process, pushing, and I'm starting to get tired. And mama kept saying to me, daughter, keep going, keep going. She'd gently whisper in my ear, keep going. And I could feel, as I'm experiencing that this is at one time, this is how the women would birth their babies. They would be under a tree with a mama, with a grandma. They're holding them with the slope, helping gravity to work with them to give birth as they're leaning back. Um, and with, I could feel all of nature around me supporting me. So that went on for some time, and I realized, giving birth to myself, I was rebirthing me, and that this is a journey that I was to go on of rebirthing, to come back into um, the truth of who I am. I must go through this birthing process, this journey to um, birth myself through a higher frequency of oneness. And however that along that process would take, it took some time. That dream ended with us continuing right there, just going and going, knowing that that it would take some time for me to go through all that would require of me and what was being asked of me. So the rebirthing and birthing of our spirit, of our connection to ourselves, of our connection to all that nature that surrounds us and to the cosmic realms, we are going on this incredible, what is to be our destiny here upon the earth at this time of the renewal. And what is being asked of us is that we step into our medicine as birthers. We have it within us, and this is, one need not have physically given birth to a child. We carry that that energy. We carry it. The exact same medicine energy that is used to birth a child is the exact same medicine and energy that we're holding in our womb that is used in creation to birth a planet or a universe. We are carriers of that energy. So when we access that and understand that the alchemy of all of that, which is who we are and our connection, we can birth miracles. We can birth joy. We can birth peace within. It starts within. We birth it within ourselves, and then we can radiate that out. And we can, those who are ready, can support mama in her birthing, for she too is going through a birthing journey. And I have had the great honor to have mama be my guide for many years now, Earth Mother. And as such, there are some things that she's shown to me about birthing. That experience under the tree was one of them. But it is a journey that requires our willingness to stay with it, to stay with the journey, as no matter if we get tired, we must stay with it. If we start to think, what am I doing? Is this really happening? Stay with it. If we need support, reach out and get support. We're not meant to try to do it on our own. That's a big thing that being under the tree that day and that experience showed me, that we're not to be try to do this without some sort of support to help us, because it is a great task, this rebirthing. So there's many different ways that we can look at the rebirthing, but speaking specifically of the earth at this moment and the rebirthing of the earth to what as I have been given to understand, there is a new earth being birthed, a
Yeah,
new earth.
I remember when you mentioned this last time, you said that it is important to not bring old earth into new earth, meaning anything that needs to be released, even if it's ancestrally uh, old traumas, especially old stories that no longer fit the new paradigms and new plans for going into a higher frequency within ourselves. It's important to leave that behind. So, what does that process look like for those wanting to, because some people are, they want to bring baggage because it's familiar, and that's again a part of my personal journey. It's leaving behind a lot of the familiarities that I found comfort in with pain, and I had to leave that behind. And that was an ancestral thing, I realized, in looking more so into my mother and grandmother's line and beyond. It was being attached to the pain. So going through the growing pains of leaving behind pain, what a journey that was, right? It was such a paradox, but I stuck with it. And it just, after it's just been released, it's, why would you want to hold on to that? You are a creator in the sense of collaborating with creation. Therefore, you can create something else. You don't have to repeat, but you can utilize the same resources to alchemize and go into your journey and creating whatever is new for you and your path. So seeing that truth within oneself and coming into this new frequency, newer or higher frequency of self, because it's always in cycles, right? So it's not really new, but it's higher than what we've been used to for a while now. So yeah, what's that process of releasing, that
Yeah.
transition process look like
Yeah.
to you?
Well, let me say that in understanding New Earth is being, talking about recycling
Mm,
and renewal and rebirth. So, original Earth was pristine, pure, high frequency. So when we were sent, when the ancient ancestors were sent here, those are the energies that welcomed them.
mm,
And there was something catastrophic that occurred in Mama's story that switched that. And now we're completing that cycle of separation
mm-hmm,
and going and returning back to um, into those high frequencies where love, joy, and peace exist. But it's birthing anew because even greater energies than we previously um, bestowed are being brought here to earth to help us with this rise. On a personal level, what does that look like? It looks like chaos. In the beginning, it can look like a whole lot of mess and a whole lot of chaos and a whole lot of fear
mm-hmm,
and aloneness, um, and confusion. Um, and yet, there's something stirring inside that's saying, there's more to me than this. I'm struggling, but I know that there's something great in me that I need to bring up and out. And how do I do that? Well, it is like as you spoke, you go through the experience of things coming up and that you must let go of. We are often creatures of habit, so we get deep into our habits and to these patterns of behavior that perhaps at one time, for whatever reason, did serve us. Maybe it was a way of protecting ourselves. From as a child, we needed protection from something, so we created something that could shelter us in some way. But now we've outgrown that, but we're still holding on to our blankie. We're still not willing to let that go, and yet we must. So surrender is a big part of a transformation. We must transform ourselves and shed those things that no longer serve us, if they ever did. Oftentimes, it's hard to recognize what is serving me and what is not.
Mm.
What is real? What do I really need to let go of? The Let me say that it's not something that we necessarily need to figure it out. We're not here to try to figure out the mess. We're not. We're here to step into our higher nature that is ready to lead us if we will mm, open to that
Mm.
higher nature, whether you call that higher nature higher self, cosmic self, your higher divine intelligence, cosmic intelligence, whatever way you speak of that. But
Mhm.
there's a higher nature that is who we are, that we are to allow to enter into our existence here on the planet and to support us while we shed
Mhm.
what must be released. And that comes from sit down and maybe write out. It's going to be unique for each one. Everyone's going to maybe express that a little differently. Find ways that support you in releasing. So for some, it's like taking a nice hot bath. There's nothing like a hot bath, and you just feel renewed afterward. Well, while you're in that water, how about just saying, you know what, when this water flushes out, I'm flushing out old aspects of my being that are causing me pain,
Yep.
holding me back, simple things like that.
Mm.
Uh, so if it's long walks, just go for a walk. And as you're walking, live life with greater intention to be awakened, to be fulfilled, to be joy. Pay attention to where you're directing your patterns of thinking.
Mhm.
There's a whole lot of self sabotage that happens within us in our inner dialogue. And it's part of us that we must reconcile. We
Mhm.
must reconcile with that part, not deny it, not try to force it away, but reconcile with it. Okay, this is a part of me. This is where I'm at in this moment. I'm getting better. There's the cue. I am getting better. I will be better. I am changing this step by step by step. It is upon us to accept that we have within us higher will. And to support higher will to come through, we must look to ways to support ourselves, our physical body, our emotional body, our mental body, and our spiritual body. We must look to ways to support that.
Mhm.
And the ways that we do that are there is multifaceted because we are multifaceted. So it's not one clear single answer, this is what you do. It doesn't work that way because we are organically born. We are organically born. We're not machines. And so our nature will give us clues. So, what are the clues that you're experiencing? Do you get headaches? Does that when you're under stress? Do you experience um, phobia? Where are some of those things that you're struggling with?
Mhm.
And when do you find that diminishes, or perhaps you're seeking an answer for that? But I will say, how do we address it? Recognizing where we are in this moment. Where are you right now? Where are you? How are you feeling about yourself, your environment? What feels really, really uplifting for you? What uplifts you? Who uplifts you? Look at those, really examine that and understand that higher will, that aspect of our being, has a response to every question that you have.
Mhm.
It's accessing that.
It's like when that higher aspect of yourself is not there within you, the the primal aspects of self feels lost sometimes.
Mm,
So then there's like this misunderstanding between worlds within. So I do see the importance of going into the higher realms of self to govern what's going on overall, because it's an overall consciousness. So if
yes.
what's the difference between our heart and above is that we have the consciousness, we have the conscious, we all are operating within the subconscious realms and the unconscious realms, but the consciousness that is able to focus on a thing, focus on something very specific, and make things happen with that creator, inner creator, right? That's what sets people apart, but still being together, but apart in putting themselves within their own unique journeys in being human and what that means. Being able to focus, being able to pay attention, being able to um, just recognize certain things about yourself and the world through that higher view. So that is important. So it's like we start off like from the primal aspects of self, because that's what we're kind of used to within just this matrix and this programming. But as we grow up into ourselves, we're realizing, oh yeah, there is another part that does know, that does see. And if we work together, then everything, there's an alchemy there that does happen with the human consciousness once upper and lower lands, as I like to call them,
Mhm.
actually agree,
Yeah.
and moving forward. And this is what brings in the harmony. And we were speaking on a phone about the importance of harmony
Yeah.
when finding that center point of self. Now it's time to harmonize and play, as I like to say. And that's the beautiful, I feel that's the beautiful journey of being human, is the playing part and the creating part and the constant self-realizations and revelations of growth and, the ups and the downs, the ins and the outs, but it's all encompassing. So that's the most important when moving forward and expanding within that.
When I um, thank you for sharing that, because that touches on some really important key
Mm-hmm.
uh, tasks that we are to give ourselves. When I started in my journey, I uncovered a hidden truth about myself that I wasn't aware of. And that somewhere along the way in my growing, I stopped feeling safe in this world.
Mm.
And safety was something that had become very foreign to me. I no longer felt safe in this world. And and when that happened, it really restricted my movement.
Mm-hmm.
And because I stopped. And when I went deeper, I realized that the reason why I stopped feeling safe was because I no longer felt that I could trust myself to navigate when the way is clear and when it's not. I had stumbled somewhere along the way, or I had told myself that I had. and and so I began to withdraw into this safe place that was not safe for me at all. It was very restrictive. And so coming to, as I began to go through the rebirth, I realized that that was an impediment that I had created in order to try to protect myself. We do many different things as a sense of protection, but those protections that we impose upon ourselves, that we take on because we're doing the best that we can, there's no judgment there.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing the best that we can, but those protections can be very restrictive. And so, without us even realizing, perhaps on a conscious level, why isn't this working? Why can't I get from here to over there? Intellectually, let us say we know how to do that, but why is it not happening? I'm opening, and I have will, I have a desire, I have an intention, I put all these things in place, and yet it's still not happening. The growth that I perhaps see myself as. So when you experience that kind of blockage, when that kind of hindrance, um, it's good to take a step, a pause, and explore, what do I need in order to feel like I'm still continuing to go on and still grow. I'm aware that this is happening over here, but but I still need to mm, let the higher consciousness of myself mm, help me to navigate where it is that I am to go in the world. We have four primary um, bodies. We have our physical body, our emotional, our mental, and our spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
So each of those needs their own response to awakening and healing ourselves. And, we have physical debris. So a lot of what is, for some, you cannot move further ahead. It's going to be very difficult if you're not physically addressing what's going on with your physical body and what you're taking in, because that clogs not only our physical body, but our emotional, mental, and spiritual body as well gets plugged up. And it's hard to be a receptor for light when we're so heavy and dense in our energy. So we must lighten become less dense. And so we look at those, and there are, we talking about herbs. There are cleansing and healing herbs to help us in this time to take care of our bodies so that we can get lighter, so that it's we're better able to be more responsive and receptive to the healing energies that are wanting to help us.
Mm-hmm.
Just starting there.
What I'm
So
hearing as you're saying that is no delay in receiving as well, because
mhm,
the lighter you are, the quicker you are
yes,
in that
yes,
sense in
yes.
receiving and also transmitting. So that's very important when lightening up within yourself
Yeah,
and
physically
realizing that.
lighting up your body by being aware of what is it that's going into your physical body.
Mhm.
Physically making some adjustments. And it's not like you have to do it all at once. Take steps. We're way too hard on ourselves sometimes in having to get it right, and we can overstep and make things far more complicated than they need to be. But taking steps with cleansing herbs like peppermint, something simple like peppermint tea is really healthy. You want to have a good, clean source for the medicine that you take into your body. But, you know, our ancestors worked with the plant medicines and tree medicine for thousands of years
Yes, I know you wanted
successfully.
to go into plant medicine and tree medicine, so maybe I see it going into that direction if you wanted to
Yes,
share some things about.
that's a wonderful place to start in helping ourselves to go through this journey in a more peaceful way. There are deep herbs that are very helpful in detoxifying the body. Um, and there are wonderful herbs that are very good in providing nutrients for the body. I'm gonna, as they come, I'm gonna just throw them out so people can, you know, take what perhaps may feel resonate with you at this time.
Mhm.
Nettle tea is very nourishing for the body. Nettle tea, and if you live in a place where you can gather it or take an herbal course and learn what that is because it's freely available. Like it just grows wild. But there are lots of wonderful places that you can get it online. Nettle tea is very nourishing. Um, Ginger, wonderful ginger is it's an adaptogen that you can add to your tea to really, it, it enhances other plant medicine.
Mm.
So if you, let's say, if you have a favorite tea that you like, you add ginger to that, it's going to enhance the medicine of that plant greatly. I do not recommend using uh, ginger product from China. I'm going to say that. So if you can source it from 90% of the uh, ginger found in stores is coming from China. But there's Peru and Nicaragua, Greece. There are other sources, and do some homework. It does require a bit of doing a bit of study and looking to see sources. Mountain herbs is a wonderful source. May I just mention them to go online and get good, clean, healthy plant medicine that you can use. These are herbs that are very accessible. I want to talk about things that are accessible
Mhm.
that are very healthy for the body to get you to 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 maintain and help bring out good health. Um, and I like to keep things really, really super simple in terms of how do we take care of ourselves. And plant medicine is something I have that has helped me have health beyond my wildest dreams. I'm very thankful for my health, and I will share some of what my secrets, and they're not really secrets, but what I've done to help maintain my health over these years because I have chosen to step away from any pharmaceuticals. That's a choice, that personal choice that I make. I don't recommend that. It requires a discipline. If that I have a discipline. I'm very careful of what goes in
Mhm.
and you know i I invest the time to take care of my physical body in a way that's going to support my spiritual responsibility to myself and to this planet.
Mhm.
So
Beautiful.
um so having removed pharmaceuticals for myself, I have learned some things along the way. And I also feel that I've had a lot of big help from um, the ancestors. You know, I'll tell you, the ancestors, one of the first things they spoke to me about was juicing.
Mhm.
They recommended that to me. I'm
Yeah.
thinking, but you're so ancient and you're talking about juicing. I get a kick out of things that they'll talk about, but
Mhm.
relevant for this time. So, so and that could include making beautiful, healthy smoothies. Like
Mhm.
get, adapt. to this time that we are in, that the foods that we're eating, they're not as nourishing as they once were 30 years ago. So we must adapt and have help our physical body to be strong.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the ancestors, what they said to me, one of the reasons we were so strong was because of the food that we ate. That's a direct message from the ancestors. One of the reasons why we were so strong spiritually is because of the food that we ate.
I one of my trainers that I work out with every now and then, he brought up something about when you are a big spirit, right? If you consider yourself a big spirit,
Hmm.
and you're not necessarily paying attention to your body, whether it's through working out, through nourishment,
Hmm.
through your diet, um,
Right.
the housing of your spirit
Hmm.
disconnects, or the housing disconnects from spirit. So
Yes.
looking at it in that way is, just as you exercise your spiritual self, there needs to be at least an exercising, a movement, and a caring of your physical being. Because sometimes what happens when we get so deep into the spiritual journey, we forget about the ground, we forget about the body and what houses it all, so that you can utilize this vehicle and have experiences from any standpoint, whether it's spiritual, mental, physical. So the importance of the temple within itself. And I'm so glad that you're speaking on just the physical things, or some of the things that we can do and some of the things that we can take to take better care of our bodies as
Yes.
well as our spirit, because it's still imbalanced if you're just paying attention to spirit or mental, and all of these things, but how do you feel and what is your body telling you? Because it's a direct it's a direct correlation with everything else. It's going to physically appear. So to know yourself inner is to pay attention to the outer as well and receive those signals and act accordingly. So again, I'm glad that you're bringing up
Yeah.
herbs and other modalities to ingest and take for that type of care.
Yes. And I do feel it is relevant and significant to seek out those foods that are as clean as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it does, organic food does make a difference. Eating foods that are not processed, we must balance that, everything in balance. So I'm not saying not have any chips. I enjoy eating potato chips on occasion,
Right, right.
right?
Yeah,
But what I'm saying is be and be balanced and be diligent in paying attention to what our body talks. Our body talks to us and tells us what feels good, what doesn't feel good. And we can be really, we can enhance and move forward much more quickly if we will allow our body to be supported while we're on the journey
absolutely.
through the
Absolutely.
foods that we eat. And
Mhm.
we can start with um, herbal medicine, herbal teas that can support the body. And there's lots of wonderful,
May
um,
I add something? Um,
sure.
they say it takes what, like almost a month to form a new habit, right? And
Mhm.
I go into some of my sacred ceremony every now and then, but what I've dedicated myself to was every single morning. I wouldn't even call it meditation. It's really just connecting with myself and on a higher level. And every morning I just go outside and I'll just relax, I'll breathe. And what I started doing was I started singing to my water.
Mhm.
And whatever my intention was, always coming from the heart, whatever that intention was for the day, I would sing that frequency into the water, and I would drink the water, nourishing whatever it is that I poured into it through my heart. making sure that I'm like watering my roots and grounding myself, but also nourishing other parts of me. And now I've been doing this for a few weeks now, and I can't not do it now. And trust and believe, I would find ways to figure, oh, I'm way too busy. You know, I got to do this, I got to do that, busy, right? And now I can't find myself being too busy to do or dedicate that time to myself, you know, in doing that for myself. So just for those out there who feel like they need to start somewhere, I love challenges. Just challenge yourself, even if you have to give yourself, you know, 30 days or 2 weeks or something to do something different that will help elevate you. You'll start to see that it does become lifestyle eventually,
Yes.
especially past that 2 week mark. So that's another medicine that I find helps with that, the water medicine in that way.
We could spend the entire time, rest of the time, talking just about water. It
Oh
is
gosh.
so. Water is as healer. Water is cleanser. Water as detoxifier. And yes, um, you know, it's fascinating because for me, I said it's my journey with water has been that when I pick up a glass of water, I cannot take a drink without thank you, water.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Yeah.
thank you, water. And it just, and it, you know, would build from there. But yes, um, I love that example that you gave of speaking into the water. You know, um, our bodies are 70% water. We know this. Well, what does that mean when we're wanting to oh, clear ourselves, awaken, bring ourselves into higher realms of consciousness? Well, what that means is that bring in the elementals as allies. Because when you bring in the water and you give attention to the water that you're drinking and to that is going to support you, you will find your experience expanding exponentially.
Mm-hmm.
When you sit, you know, and have a drink of water and acknowledge the water and speak into that water and give thanks, you're changing the vibration to a higher vibration.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing. And you're honoring water and yourself at the same time. And it's a beautiful truth that this does help support you in a great way.
Mm-hmm.
That consistency, and like you say, it can take time to develop a habit, but what a beautiful one to um, embrace is what, you know, my guides have always requested
Mm-hmm.
that when I am out upon the earth in prayer and in ceremony, that I be standing in water because the water is carrying those prayers out.
Mm-hmm.
So if your water is an amazing support, and you know, water is life in many traditions. Ooh, I just got a nudge when I said that. Water is life, and so let us come back to the basics of our humanity, and have a strong beginning, and that will lead to an even stronger middle of the journey. When we review, and I think that no matter where you are on your journey, it is upon us all to review, to do a review of where am I, and did I maybe forget some things along the way and need to reestablish that now to continue even stronger. Look at your relationship with um, you know, our bodies are organic. They're made of fire. They're made of water. They're made of wind, of the air. And and they're made of earth. So when we want to look at taking care of ourselves and moving ourselves forward exponentially, look at those four elements and how are you in relationship with the elements.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sit and connect. Connecting with fire is powerful. It's powerful. Um, and connecting with the breath, wind, powerful. Connecting with water, transformational.
Mm-hmm.
Earth, miracles. Miracles
I was gonna
when
say,
we
like,
do that.
Earth is just so abundant, like in
Yeah,
the life that Earth just,
yes,
supports everything.
absolutely. So
Yes, absolutely.
looking at our relationship with the elementals
Mm-hmm.
of, you know, earth, water, fire, wind, and air. Um, so yeah, so
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
we could again, that's a topic,
I
but
know
we
we
can,
could have a whole
yeah.
conversation just on the
Well, we
elements.
can touch on that for now, just
Yeah.
maybe to, and you can go, it's so expansive because you can continue to grow with it. It doesn't stop. It's like, okay, I got that now. I know all about that. No, it can, there's more and more and more that we can continue throughout our life
Yeah,
in going on the journey of understanding and receiving and being uplifted.
absolutely. Yes,
Mhm.
yes. And I guess we can go into the heart space conversation,
Mhm.
flowing into that. When I think of the heart space, it's a very unconditional, loving space that I
Mhm.
sense has no bounds to love. There's no limits to the amount of love that flows through the heart space. So, in feeling that unlimited flow, a person has to be able to get the art of giving and receiving with self, right?
Mhm.
So it's like if if I'm giving through my heart, from my heart space, from my center, sharing and giving, then I'm also simultaneously receiving what I give and share exponentially. So there's an exponential receiving, which allows you to exponentially share even more. So, and we haven't even gotten into the conversation of spiritual abundance, but to me, it's from the heart space. So that ebbs, the ebb and flow of the heart is open. So now, spirit of lack, where can it live? It can't live there. And if you're living there, then what does that mean? You're ever abundant within the amounts of what you're able to give and share and what you're able to receive as well. So the heart space, let's talk about how important it is, from your perspective, and what that means, in connecting with that center
Yeah.
part of ourselves.
Well, I welcome this conversation, this
Yeah.
part. We are, we are heart. We are meant to, we are born to be heart-centered beings.
Mm,
We are born to be heart-centered. And when we are experiencing conflict, distortion, separation, fear, suffering, there is something we must come back to our heart
mhm,
to seek understanding of, okay, what's going on? Where am I in my heart? Our journey, you know, we talk about the great awakening, but really what it is in truth and higher truth is it's the great heart awakening, because collectively we shut down our hearts. Collectively
mm,
we shut our hearts down. It became too painful to be human, and so we're now gently coming back into the opening of our heart center. This time it will be different. This time we are opening with our higher consciousness leading to show the way. This time, as in this time, we are reactivating, reawakening our hearts to be in a way that will require there we are. We just I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. We're still
Awesome. Good.
recording. We're still going.
Okay. So what I wanted to say was that in this time we are in, our heart is meant to lead.
Mm-hmm.
And so that and reconciling our heart with our mind, our good mind, that reconciliation needs to occur. You know, the ancient ones teach that the the long and many people have spoken that the longest journey is from the head to the heart, and I that pathway became broken in many ways. So the way to repair that is through restoring our heart center, which is the pulse that we're sending out through the heart, the pulse that goes into the frequencies, into the heart's center of the earth, we send out that pulse through our heart that goes out into the universe, and we're coming back into alignment where the heart center, that pulse, that frequency of our heart is being realigned, retuned, so that the harmonics are back in alignment with the harmonics of the universe. We went out of tune. We lost our attunement, and attunement means at one-ment. We lost our attunement through our heart. Our hearts is meant to sing. Our
Mm-hmm.
heart is meant to sing a beautiful, harmonious melody that hooks up with the earth, with the stars, with the sun, with the moon, and with the universe. And the harmonics, when we are out of balance, it, the universe has a difficult time hearing us if our heart is not in balance.
Mm-hmm.
So we we are bringing everything that we are experiencing so back into balance so that we can reopen our heart into the frequencies of love from which it was first created.
Mm. That's powerful. That's
That's where
powerful.
we're going. That's where
Mhm.
we're seeking to get to is and so when someone says, "How's your heart?" understand that our heart is pulsating at a rhythm that is either in harmony or out. And when it's out, we're okay, where do I need to go in order to reclaim my heart's song,
Mm-hmm.
your heart song? Each of us has a heart song, and restoring that heart song is the journey, coming back into right relationship with your heart's original frequency and rhythm, and the pulsing of the heart in rhythm with the pulsing of the universe, the pulsing of the multiverse, the earth, and with each other, coming
Mm-hmm.
back into rhythm with each other. We are magnificent beings. We are. We were designed to be magnificent. We're designed to be beyond um, the greatness that we are um, currently experiencing as the whole.
Mm-hmm.
We're it's so there's much to do. We start with ourselves. Do not take on the burdens of others. Do not take on the burdens of the chaos. You know, we can send love, we can send joy, we can send peace, we can send out our prayers, and trust that. How involved are you meant to be? I find that a lot of people who um, immerse themselves in conflict, it is because they are seeking to avoid the conflict within that they need to heal.
I mean, that's where it comes from. The conflict outside of you only reflects the conflict within.
Yeah.
And sometimes, again, when I was saying about, you know, just feeling lost sometimes from your higher consciousness, you really start to react to your outward wars, and then you play the blame game. And we're going through this even with what we're dealing with in the world today. Is you did this to me and you did that to me, and I'm going to do this in retaliation just
Yeah.
because. And it's this polarity game that we can either play with ourselves or outside of ourselves, but it gets nowhere because no one wins.
Yeah.
No one wins that game.
Yeah.
Really, you know, even if you feel like you've won, you're still going to end up being shifted over to the other side of that somehow, some way, because you chose a one part of yourself over another, instead of just seeing all of you in everything and wondering how you can become more in harmony with self, therefore becoming more harmony within your environment, therefore living at a higher frequency in its dominance.
Yeah.
Because of course we dip low as humans, but what is that dominant frequency that you're living in? That's what truly guides you through your experiences.
Mhm. And as we're speaking right now, my heart is just it's just opening wide, because there is an element of the human experience that we are coming back to now, which is the element of compassion. And we're being asked at this time to remember that as this renewal is unfolding, that we're witnessing the chaos, understand that that has been there, held in the earth's energies for so long, waiting to trying to find its way back to the light,
Mm-hmm.
to source light. And so as we're witnessing it coming out, it must come out in order to be um, removed and transmuted back. But we're not being called upon to engage with it, be a witness to it, but and have compassion. That means to say that we are aware of the cause of this confusion that has caused so many of us to be separated from our heart space.
Mm-hmm.
That it's creating conflict, it's creating war, there's a lot of anger. There's a lot of anger. And so as one who is seeking to be an answer to the suffering that is going on in the world, what is our role in that? How disengaged do we become? Where do we draw that line of just putting that over there? What I want to say is that there's a lot going on multidimensionally.
Yes.
And so there's not easy fix-it answers to everything that we are being asked to acknowledge and see and witness as we are unfolding. There's this ball of chaos and suffering and violence that is swimming around. And deep within that chaos is coming up for blossoming this beautiful, pristine new earth that is emerging. And so as all of this is unfolding, recognizing that it's releasing
Yes.
and being released, and that our task is to stay in the love, the harmony, the peace within ourselves, continue in that, because the more that we can stay there, the more that we can radiate that out and send that out upon the earth to bring peace. We are changing who we are. We are rising, we are lifting up in consciousness, in awareness, in truth, finding our way back to higher truth. And it is time. And our task is to do our best to stay in that center point of where we are embracing the love that is being sent here to the planet by so many. There are many in the unseen realms who care deeply what is happening with us, with the earth mother herself. We are being supported. Our task is to offer to be a one who lets go of whatever it is that we're carrying that contributes to anger, to fear, to violence, to suffering, that we will be willing to release that, to be transmuted, and to be one who is to be one who receives the greater light, love, joy, peace that is being sent to the planet at this time, and up through Earth Mother herself.
Yes.
But we must recognize in our responsibility to be grounded, to be stable upon the earth, and to look to our connection with nature as a great stabilizer. Do not ignore that component. It is important. We have ignored Earth for too long. We must come back into alignment with her and with the trees and with the waters, and not just talk about that, but really bring ourselves back into living as living beings. We are a part of nature. Our material, our physical body are made up of the same material as the earth.
Yes,
And
that symbiotic relationship, again, as I always mention, just when speaking of nature, is remembering the symbiosis, that symbiotic dance, because that's what it's really like. It's earth, people say, well, without humans, nature will be just fine. And it's just like, but nature enjoys dancing with humans. We enjoy the interaction. So it's not about what is needed and what's not needed. It's what we want. And coming more so into that frequency of what we want instead of just what we need, because we have everything we need. So what do you want? So that's also operating from a heart base.
Yes.
From that
And,
space is just.
And what does the earth want? And Earth Mother wants to bring us with her.
Yes, she does.
She wants us to be part of this with her. And we are included in the divine plan. We are part of it. And also she's asking that we clean ourselves up, clear ourselves, align ourselves, because we are each carrying pearls of ancient ancestral wisdom within us that we're to carry with us into this new day. It is a new day dawning. We are to carry that with us. We are holding libraries of ancient wisdom that is to be carried with us. We agreed to that. So loving, Mama said to me one day, Earth Mother, Moo, said to me, love yourself as much as you love me. That was a tough one. That was a tough one that day.
Yes.
To acknowledge, that I needed to do more work on loving me.
Mm-hmm.
And that loving of ourselves, truly loving ourselves, that means love yourself enough to take those extra steps, to be, to thrive, to be well, to be healthy, to be
On purpose.
joyful, to be fulfilled. Take those and let go of slacking. No more sitting on the fence,
Mm-hmm.
or you'll get to it another day. Love yourself. Love yourself. Love yourself as much as Mama loves us. She loves us.
One thing I wanted to definitely, because we've spoken, and I know that both of us are so driven by the feminine force. Like we are like mother,
Mm.
mother, grandmother, mother, 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 because that feminine energy is just origin point in principle. But I've never heard your perspective on divine masculine and how
Okay.
the divine masculine comes into play with support and collaboration with mother and with just the natural energies in general. So I would love to hear your perspective on that.
Oh, yes, it's not, yes, you're right. It's not something that you and I have
No.
talked of. So, yeah, absolutely. That is an important conversation. May I start by sharing with you that as a healer, my initial instruction was to heal the healers, assist the women to reclaim their power.
Mm-hmm.
And the third was my support of the earth healers. Mm. So one day I was sitting in the silence, in stillness, connecting within, and Source Creator spoke to me into my heart and said, "Gather up your medicines, my sacred bundle, and go sit upon the earth, go to the waters." And I knew exactly where I was being directed. It's this favorite beach of mine here where I live called Rainbow Haven Beach.
Mm-hmm.
And Creator said to me, "I am going to pass to you the teachings you need to begin supporting the men in their healing." Because I carried medicine, but I needed to go much deeper.
Mm-hmm.
And so at that time, I listened and I went and I entered into ceremony with that. What I will share with you with that is my understanding as we are continuing to unfold, that the feminine and the masculine that are coming back together in right relationship with each other,
Mm-hmm.
I connect with as sun and moon,
Mm.
solar and lunar. And are we exist upon this earth carrying both solar energies and lunar energies. All of us do. That is the masculine and the feminine embodied within us. And so bringing that, and that is the water and fire.
Mm.
So when we talk about the masculine, let us talk about how, you know, we're bringing in creation. But let us say in life here upon the earth, the cycle of life. When a woman conceives, that 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 newborn, that unborn child
Mm-hmm.
always begins as feminine, always. And it's not until after then that the masculine energies then come, and then the male child
Mm-hmm.
um, begins its journey to
It's
be
almost
born.
as if the feminine principle within nature recognizes the uh, the importance of having masculine principle involved in creation, It's almost
Yeah.
as if the intelligence of the feminine says, we need this. We need
Yes.
structure. We need to bring forth the fiery action or the light
Yes.
into the whirlwind of sporadic creation that is all mother, and bringing that in creates something that we call life, that we get to experience in all ways. So I feel like, yeah, this divine intelligence called the feminine
Yes.
recognizes the value in the masculine.
Yes, but and also though that the feminine comes first, and then the masculine aligns. So
Mm,
understand in this awakening, as it seems that the feminine is kind of leading the way. Understand that's the journey, that is in this reality how life unfolds in this reality that we are experiencing. But
mm,
it's always meant that, always intended that the two would come together at the time of when source says that, at the time of, not us, but when source directs, it's at the time of, the two would come together and align, to support each other and bring that balance. So where we are at this time is each of us are carrying and holding the feminine and the masculine within us.
mhm.
And so for us to truly be whole, restoring that balance. Now we're looking out into the reality of how things are unfolding in the great awakening at this time, or the great time of renewal. And we're seeing that it that there is much transformation that is happening, where the feminine seems to have come before, and now the masculine is now taking its place. It has now begun. So my feeling is, and my understanding, as we are coming together as one, as we are lifting ourselves back up into one, where the feminine goes, the masculine must come, and that they must come together. So if the female cannot, the feminine cannot come together without that honoring of that masculine. They there is a joining up and an alignment and a oneness that is strong, that is powerful, and that each has its unique spiritual purpose and properties that are unique. In
Yeah.
the feminine, there are unique properties there that creation needs. In the masculine, there are unique properties there that creation needs. So we are here to honor and acknowledge that within us and within creation.
Mhm.
And but there, it was made clear to me that there, in the healing of the masculine and the healing of the feminine, there are some unique um, differences, if you will, that we must pay attention to. There are some unique aspects of the feminine that need its own specific grandmother medicine healing to bring that back into wholeness. Just as with the masculine, there are certain properties of the universe, of creation, of the cosmic energies that the masculine needs that are distinct from the feminine.
Yeah.
So recognizing that that does exist in creation here upon the earth and in this galaxy, it
Mm,
does. And as those two are being restored and healed, then that harmonious rejoining can unfold.
mhm.
It can unfold in a healthy way.
Yes.
Yeah, in a healthy way. So a lot of women are have experienced being very disempowered, because they, for so long, they have been indoctrinated in this is a man's world, and if you're going to survive in it, then you must have manly qualities, you know, to have that strong power that's going to propel you to. And, you know, we're releasing all of that now, is what I'm saying. We're releasing, that was a false idea that was imposed, that we no longer need to live by that.
Mm-hmm.
And yet it still exists on the planet,
Yes.
and we must recognize that and step aside from it, that no longer applies
Yeah.
and it no longer serves, and that too is being released from the planet. Our task is to heal ourselves, coming back together into the oneness. And the oneness means bringing back oneness as feminine, masculine, as one.
Mm-hmm.
Bringing that back into oneness is a powerful and sacred act
Mm-hmm.
that, again, bring that brings
Mm-hmm.
great joy and great peace. And it is who we are becoming. It is who we are becoming. Does
Perfect.
that answer
No, it
that?
over answers.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
exactly what I resonate with as well. So I'm sure others would, you know, because sometimes we have these conversations and I can sense that sometimes the masculine tries to find their way through all of this as the feminine is doing the work. You know, it's just like,
Mhm.
wait, what about me? And
What about me?
but
Yeah.
but raising up the masculine is a
Mhm.
part of the feminine's rising up as well. So one can't really do it without the other or go too far without the other
No,
anyway.
and,
So
it was never intended to be that the rising of the feminine would somehow compromise
mhm.
the masculine. Never intended to be. This is an unfolding that is occurring in honor of the sacred of all that we are.
Now it's interesting because now I see how things are transitioning in conversation. You, what intrigued me about a post that you made a couple of months ago
Yeah.
was a Magdalene post, and you said that Magdalene appeared, or Mary Magdalene appeared to you I don't know if you wanted to share, but in a
Yes.
meditation or some sort, and um, in realizing, even seeing through these stories as well, because you've connected with whom people would call Jesus as well,
Yeah.
and that essence, right, within your own
Mhm.
way. So to
Yeah.
see Magdalene come in, and I guess because we were talking about masculine and feminine in this way, we have like a feminine version of
Yes.
that essence of what people would, or who people would refer to as Jesus, right? And of course, guys, we're talking about in essence. We're not talking about religion here. We're not going there. We're talking about in essence that is expressed through these,
Whew.
these archetypes, right? So would you mind sharing the message of Magdalene that came through you?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Mhm. Yeah. I I absolutely, I would love to. And I wish to say first, Aset, truly, I acknowledge and celebrate your courage to be willing to step into a delicate and sensitive topic
Mm-hmm.
that would be considered that way by some. Um, and so here we are. So I guess it's time. Uh, and so I, I share with you that it would occur during a healing ceremony that I was bringing to someone. That's when it occurred.
Mm-hmm.
Many years ago, I was in a little crystal shop, and I, just looking through, I didn't see a thing that really interested me. And I don't know how I missed it, but in the middle of the shop, there was this crystal case, this glass case, right in the middle of the shop. And I'm thinking, how did I go all around that shop and miss that case? And
Mm-hmm.
when I looked in it, I saw this crystal or this stone that was like, what is that? And I was so drawn to it. I asked the shopkeeper to open the case because it was locked, which she did. And I pulled it out and I held it, and it was just beyond what I can describe. Um, there were two others sort of identical to it. I picked both of those up and didn't feel anything. Picked it back up again, just like all through my whole being. I'm experiencing like this shifting of movement. I brought it home, and when I connect with sacred medicines, I call them stones, crystals, there are many different ways that we can connect with nature to help get the support of nature in our healing. And crystals and stones is a part of that. This stone, when I held it and I asked, "What is your medicine? Who are you?" The response I received was, "Eye of Christ." And I'm like, what?
Wow.
Didn't expect that. Um, and I worked with it for a little bit and put it away. Honestly, forgot about it. I let it go. And then I was digging through one of my baskets one day, not that long ago, and there I found it. I'm like, oh my goodness, I forgot about that. I had this. And um, um, I thought I'll put it on my altar. And if it calls to me, it calls to me. I don't know. I wish to back up if I could and just say, so in my journey, I work with the ancient ones. I work with the ancestor ones. I work with grandma, the grandmothers, and the clan mothers. And I work with Earth Mother Mu. She is one of my main guides. And I've done so for many years, very happily and very well, very successfully. This is the path that I'm on. And I've always trusted that this is the path that has been set for me, that I co-created for myself.
Mm-hmm.
We all co-create our paths. Um, so one day, as I'm sitting in stillness, Jesus appeared, just showed up. And I said, no, why are you here? Like, no. And, and, and so he went away.
Mm.
And sometime later, again, he, he came back again. And I said, no, I work with the ancestors now, and I work with the ancient ones. Thanks, but no thanks. And the third time he came, I went to Mama and I complained about it
Oh,
because that's how I am.
okay.
I'm lodging a complaint because I'm not sure what this is about. I went to Earth Mother and I said, Mama, I don't understand. Jesus keeps coming to me. Like he keeps showing up and I keep sending him away and he keeps coming and I don't understand it. Like, why is he coming? Like, I work with you and I work with the ancestors and I work with, creator my life is good. I feel good. And you're laughing at me. Um, I said, I feel good and I don't need him. I,
Mm.
I literally spoke those words. I don't need him.
Mm.
And Mama, in her wisdom, she put that mother voice, that tone that lets me know, hear me well. Her response, I need him. I was shocked.
Wow.
I was shocked. Well, I'm here to serve Mama. So she tells me, I don't get to tell her. I didn't understand. But then when she let me sort of take that in, I realized if we're truly going to come back into oneness, we must accept the oneness, even though if we may not fully understand it, which I didn't at the time. I didn't understand. I understood what she said. I got it. And so, okay, no more resisting. I'm going to find out more. I'm going to explore that. And so the next time he came, I listened.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to him, so much has been done in your name, so much harm has been done. I want you to tell me why you came here to earth. What was your purpose? Because so much harm has been done in your name. And his response was, he asked that I touch his garment. So I share this from my heart because I wish for people to understand the journey that it took me to get to bring in Magdalene.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how did that happen? Well, this is how it happened. So I had this encounter that I had with Christ this day. He came and I recognized the sandals. I was raised Christian, and I just remember those sandals that he always is depicted wearing. We were walking up a mountain, and I was in conversation with him, and I asked him, why did you come? I want you to tell me why you came here. And instead of responding with words, he asked that I touch his garment. And he was wearing this beautiful long garment that was sparkling. And I noticed when I touched the garment, I noticed that it was lined with crystals. And I thought, oh, and when I touched it, I saw exactly who he is and what he brought here to the earth. I saw exactly who he was. And
Mm.
who he was and who he is. He was bringing the divine feminine and the divine masculine in perfect alignment to send that frequency out upon the planet, back into be restored as one.
Wow.
That's what he was carrying. The feminine and the masculine as one in perfect alignment within. He
Mm.
carried that frequency. And that was his higher purpose. So anything that has been written about him, that is not including that, is
Mm.
not telling the story of who he was and what his purpose was. He showed me that day. That's what he showed me. So when this stone came to me, I'm thinking, oh, what happened is a woman came to me who um, was experiencing, I'm not sure what, doesn't really matter, I guess. But um, while we were sitting and I was helping her, I had my altar out and that stone was on it. And I felt this, I had to pick it up. It was like, I have to pick that stone up.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to her, would you be okay with me calling in the Christ energies to help you in this moment? And she said, I'll be honest with you, I don't know how to respond to that because I don't know anything about Jesus. It's not something that's been part of me. I never was raised in Christianity. I don't know anything about him, so I don't know how to respond to you. She said, I'll let you decide if that's appropriate or not for me. So I thought, okay, I don't have a problem with that. So I held it and I asked Christ, are you asking to come in to help with this session? Like, are you asking? Yes. And I said, okay. And I said, well, yeah, I'm going to allow this to come through because it's being requested. As I'm sitting there holding this stone, thinking Christ is going to show up, Christ Jesus, Yeshua, they're standing right in front of me, Aset, right in front of me. Magdalene. It
Mm.
wasn't Christ Jesus, it was Christ Magdalene who came. And I said, Mary Magdalene? And she said, yes, it is I. I have come to help you to serve. I have come to help with the healing of those who have suffered from spiritual, excuse me, I have, this is what she said. Yes, it is I. I have come to help you with your work, your healing work. We have come, so letting me know that he was there. We have come to assist with the healing of those that have suffered from religious persecution.
Mm.
That was the message. And all I could see was her heart. Remember we talked about the heart earlier? All I could see was her heart. Her heart was just vibrating this brilliant green and pink,
Mm.
which are the heart colors, pink and green. Those are the heart colors. I could see, and the rest of her was just this iridescent, luminescent, ethereal being but it was her heart. She showed me her heart. And that was the message. I've come to help with the healing of those suffering from religious persecution. And I was like, I get it. I mean, how much did she suffer?
Yeah.
She gets it. She suffered incredible religious persecution.
Mm-hmm.
So she knows. She gets it. She's been there.
Yeah.
As did he. He was strung up on the cross. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's the experience that I had.
Wow, that was powerful. Thank you for sharing that. I felt that. I felt
Yeah.
yeah.
That was my experience. And she came, and she is returning.
Mm-hmm.
She's come back since then. But
Yeah.
it all happened, and that happened 3 days before Easter.
Mm-hmm.
It was her first appearance. Um, it happened this year, is my point. She just emerged. I never ever thought that I would be serving in that way,
Right. Right.
you know? But here's the thing, when we open our hearts to love and we open our hearts to serve, when we reach that level of being able to be a helper, allowing mama and the higher beings and source to work through us, and how's that going to look, what's that going to look like,
Yeah.
how we serve. um, I simply must honor that now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very clear with it. I never would push him on anyone. Because I was one of those like ones that was very angry with Jesus and the God and the Bible and the whole thing. I was like, there's no way I want anything to do with any of that.
Mm-hmm.
And and neither do they.
Yeah.
The truth be told, neither their religion, in the way that it has caused suffering, is leaving the planet.
Yeah. Yeah. And just bringing that, what the Christed one is basically that perfect alignment on the inside of being
Ex-
masculine,
exactly.
feminine, in perfect alignment within self.
Yes,
That is the Christed one within.
that is the Christed one. That perfect alignment,
Mm-hmm.
and that is the Christed consciousness.
Yes.
And what Magdalene said to me is that I am the feminine principle for Christ consciousness.
Wow.
That was her message to me.
I mean, it makes sense,
Yeah.
if there's a masculine aspect that we're all paying attention to, then,
Yes.
and if that masculine counterpart is indeed Christed, of course that masculine principle is going to lead you to the feminine part.
That's
So
right.
it's not about him or her. It's about a
No.
Christed one,
Yes.
recognizing that there's a Christ consciousness in everyone and bringing that
Yes.
message forth in the way that they do.
And for us to truly align and restore ourselves
Mm-hmm.
in this plane of existence where we are in this universe, there is an aspect of us that's aligned with
Yes.
that is needing to be healed and restored and cleared of all the damage that was done,
Mm-hmm.
the suffering that was imposed,
Yeah.
the lies that were imprinted into our being.
Yeah.
Oh, we gotta let all
Yeah.
that go, right? Ugh.
Yes. Right.
Right?
Letting
And
that.
that's just at that realm, at that level.
Mm-hmm.
But understand that we are becoming one again with the truth, the highest truth of all that we truly are.
Mhm.
And in this time of reconciliation, we are aligning our ancestors, we are aligning our star frequencies, our sun frequencies, our lunar frequencies, our earth frequencies. We're
Mhm.
aligning them back into the oneness, all of it,
Yes.
all of it. And so I am here now to say that it is, I am in awe of what I am witnessing and experiencing. I'm in awe of it, Aset. I didn't know Spirit was going to take me there, you know,
Yeah.
but I'm thankful that Mama gave me a shake, like snap out of it,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And so that I could be ready for such an encounter and not, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. So we're all coming into a greater expansiveness
Mhm.
that is so grand and so beautiful and filled with love, filled with love.
Mhm.
And yes, she showed me her heart that day, letting me know I come to you from my heart. And her message to me, I am your sister.
Mm.
His message to me when he first came to me, I am your brother Jesus, not your savior, not your this, not your that. I am your brother. That is a truth, a higher truth.
Mhm.
So when Sister Magdalene came, she let me know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wow, thank you for that. I
Yeah.
thank you. Wow. uh, so I guess we can go into spiritual abundance now.
Oh,
After bringing
yeah.
all that Christed
But
energy,
um,
let's talk
yeah. So
about
how
how
do you?
full we are already, within
Yeah.
our Christed selves, how
Yes.
amazingly abundant we are just as beings.
Yes. Yes.
Yes,
And
spiritual.
so I wish to say, because I know this is that is a big topic. So I know people might have other questions and and
About what you just expressed.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I mean,
So
we can totally have another.
but no, I think we're good for now. I think that that's a
Okay.
good place. But I
Yes.
think that if there's another opportunity for more discussion, I'm open to that.
Okay.
I'm here. Like I'm
Yes.
not, because you and I have talked about, continuing, and so I'm open to it.
Yes, there's more to unfold with that. I
Yeah,
agree. So
I
yes,
think
we
so.
can
Yeah,
totally put that
yeah,
conversation on hold for a moment
yeah.
and expand on it.
Spiritual abundance.
Spiritual abundance.
So tell me, well, perhaps it would be helpful if you opened with a question for me around that, because there's so many
Uh,
different ways that I could.
well, to me, spiritual abundance it's just a resonance of feeling, and
Mm,
your external world just reflects that eventually, right? And when we spoke on the phone, and I joked with you. I said, Selena, I said, I don't know how you make money. I don't know what's going on over there personally, but I know when I speak to you, you feel like you are just the wealthiest woman in the world
yes,
because spiritually, because you
yes,
feel like it.
yeah,
And I meant that with my heart when I said that. And I know what that feels like on the inside. So I recognize it with another.
yeah,
And I know that there are a lot of people just living in the spirit of lack,
yeah,
due to not just knowing that about themselves. So it's more so. I guess the question would be,
yes,
how can one find their own spiritual abundance? Because it's not a dependency thing. I don't need anyone else to make me feel abundant,
yeah,
but we can share abundance together. So I guess number one for me and my perspective in this is to recognize it within yourself first
yeah,
and know what it feels like, resonate with that, and watch your world change. Whether it even be monetary, okay? We're talking about resources here that we need within this material world, but it's just everything just shows up and supports that from that high resonance on the inside. So what advice would you have for someone who's suffering within the spirit of lack and feeling like they don't have enough of themselves?
Mm-hmm. Whew. Big topic.
Yeah.
So what I wish to say is that, first of all, a lot of times in our journey back to oneness, it's like dismantling all the lies that have been imposed upon us from childhood, from birth. And there's a lot of huge lies that have been imposed. One of them is um, that we must accumulate wealth to be abundant, to have abundance, that we have to accumulate this wealth. And I'm speaking of monetary wealth and accumulation of things, physical things and monetary wealth and physical things, that there has to be this accumulation. And what I have come to understand in stepping into my spiritual abundance is that what I did was I entered into the flow of abundance, the flow with it, not to try to compete with it, not to try to harness it for me. Like, oh, I need this, and this.
Yeah.
But to be in the flow of the energy of abundance and prosperity is with first, let me share, with healing comes abundance. With healing comes abundance. So that we can unrestrict our heart to open to abundance and take the mystery out off of it. How do we be secure in our earth walk, that we are aligned with all of the plenty that exists upon the earth? How do we align ourselves with that? There is so much goodness here upon the earth, so much goodness. The earth is rich, and she's more than happy to share her richness with us. And she is rich in love and joy, in abundance, and in peace. And so how do we connect with that and plug into it, tune into it? Recognize that, let's say money abundance, that money, that energy that's called money, recognize it's not yours. It comes from source. It's source energy. So accessing that, which is another alignment that we must make with ourselves, so that it can be provided as we need it to show up in our life, as it's going to help us to live a good life, a peaceful life. It doesn't mean that we are needing to find a formula that this plus this equals wealth.
Yes.
Or, right? There's not a formula for it. It's a state of consciousness that opens you to the infinite abundance that the universe wishes to bring to you. That we are all, that is part of our spiritual inheritance, to be aligned with that. It's for us all. There's none more deserving than others.
I'm glad you said that.
We are, each of us, welcome to sit at the table of where plenty is before us to receive, as um, as our needs are to be met. And so and also there are a lot of barriers that have been imposed upon us.
Mhm.
There's a lot of guilt around money,
Yes.
self-imposed or imposed by others.
Mm.
So there's a lot of shame around it. Either shame that you don't have enough of it, or shame that, people might perceive you as having too much, or there's all this shame to go around.
Mhm.
So let us take this, though, all the stigma that's attached, either unconsciously or unconsciously. Let's remove the stigmas that have attached themselves to us, and free that, because without those restrictions removed, the flow can't happen.
Yeah, it's like knowing your own value, and a lot of the value also is in how you spend your time as well. So it's like,
Mm,
what am I doing in exchange for money? And
mm,
that actually was a whole like conversation a decade ago with me, more so becoming an entrepreneur. Like, how am I spending my time in exchange for this paycheck? And am
yes.
I okay with this? So
Mm,
also really just, and when we bring that back energetically, how are we spending time with ourselves? How are we spending time with others? Are we spending it wisely? So I see time and money as one and the same energetically when you're able to realize the value in yourself.
yes.
So it's like inner value. I see my value. I see what I am paying attention to. I
Mm-hmm,
see what I am focused on.
mm-hmm,
And does this equate to what it is that I am receiving?
yeah,
And so looking at money energetically, or just, I wouldn't even say money, just abundance within itself, paying attention to how you feel and what you're doing is a great indicator on how it'll all come to you eventually in that external way, because again, yes, resources are necessary. We live in this earthly plane, in this material world, but it really starts from within. And that's what I meant when I spoke to you. I feel that resonance within you from
mm-hmm,
one to another. And so it's just, you can't really teach that. It's, do
yeah,
you feel your value? Do you feel the trueness of who you are? And
mm-hmm,
now that you feel that, what can you do? What will
right,
you do about it? And
mm,
how will you contribute and share and pour that out in a way to where it's just ever flowing? So
yes.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, very true. We're in some ways, human our humanness is really simple, but
Mhm.
there are certain complexities that need some understanding.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
our you know our ability to um, add complexity to things that are really simple
Hmm.
is um, is something that we are working toward changing,
Yes.
each of us in our own way. How we get in our own way, if you will, of reaching higher and fulfilling ourselves. um, I wish to say that there is a component of spiritual healing that may need to occur in reconciling with the energy of money.
Hmm.
Perhaps you, in your family, what was the relationship with money like in your family? Did you pick up some of those traits?
Hmm.
Or somewhere along the way where you struggled, what, how did, what has your relationship with money been? How have you perceived yourself in terms of personal um, connection with money? If you're struggling with that, have you explored where did that begin? When did that start? if you can identify that, because then you can give that over to be released. Because until you release it, your efforts will struggle until you release what is holding you back. So I see it as a releasing of, take from me what is holding me back, that I cannot trust myself in my relationship with the universe, that it will provide for me.
Mm.
That I think I need to hustle, 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 hustle in order to be provided for. And you know what? Help me to let that go,
Mm-hmm.
you know, so that I can then receive all that that is there for me. That, and it really can be that wonderful a relationship with money, with
Mm-hmm.
abundance, with spiritual abundance, and more so looking at it in a well-rounded sense.
Yeah.
The opportunities that come through that bless and uplift your life, from which abundance flows with it. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh wow, that showed up. Beautiful. Thank you. I greatly um, am honored to receive.
Mm-hmm.
And then you know what? And share a little bit. When the opportunity comes to share some of what you have,
Mm-hmm.
I used to hold on to money like it was like I would I would resent it having to pay bills, because
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, look at all this money I'm putting out for this.
Yeah.
Like I was carrying that energy. That's not good, right? When
Right.
I look at what kind of a frequency relationship was I having with abundance when I was thinking like that
Mm-hmm.
long time ago. So I looked at some of the patterns that were going on. What am I releasing this joyfully, not trusting and knowing that more is coming? It's flowing. I'm so yes. Here, let me take care of that right away. Pay that off. It's good. It's done.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's this, and let me say this, that in our spiritual journey to reconcile within ourselves, that is a significant portion of it. It is something that does need our attention
Mm-hmm.
and our intention and our opening of our hearts, and really um, letting that flow, because in this world that we are in, the connection that we have with our with abundance or with lack is a reflection of things that are needing to be changed within us. So let's make that an intention. And sometimes it can be a little scary to look at it, but go there.
Yes.
Be gentle with yourself when you do. Don't beat up on yourself. We're human beings.
Mm.
And this is an incredible journey that we are all of us on. And, but it's once you reach that place of being aligned
Yeah,
with
it's hard to put
spiritual
that
abundance.
effort into feeling
Yeah,
misaligned because you
yeah,
automatically catch it now, and now
yeah,
you know what it feels. You have a reference point now. So,
yes.
yeah.
And recognize that where you are spiritually, in your spiritual alignment, that can be a reflection of where you are with abundance as well.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Well, thank you for that. Thank you so much. It's always, always a pleasure to have
yeah,
you here. And again, thank you. It was an honor when you reached out to me. I said, when wisdom calls, you answer.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
so,
It was
so
time.
it was perfect timing for this. So again, I appreciate, and I'm always here to support when you also have some expressions as well. So I'm always here to provide that support as well. And I guess you can share where people can find you.
Mhm.
I'll definitely place your information in a description down below for those who want to reach out to you personally, but you do offer spiritual mentorship and healing and sessions as well. So could you just verbally express what your website is, and we'll definitely get that info below.
Yeah, so it's actually right now, my website is in need of an overhaul, but I will provide it for you. It's whiteturtlemedicinelodge.com. And where you can most easily find me is presently is through Instagram and Earthkeeper Selina Moo with MU, Earthkeeper Selina Moo. And you can direct message me there or send me an email through there. I welcome your questions and responses. And it's been such a joy today. But yes, it's funny. I felt moved to reach out and extend to you. There's a lot going on in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Let's lift up some love
Yep.
and bring some positivity and some joy and together and have another conversation. So I'm thankful that we were able to do so today. And I trust that there's some little gem in there for everyone that they can embrace and hold on to that's supportive of them. For that was, I think, our intention was to
Yeah.
bring something to support and uplift those who would listen.
Absolutely. And great news, you're actually on as an official guardian of an elder guardian of the Liberation Code Academy. So we're
Mhm.
actually opening up the Academy July 1st. So if you wanted to get on the waiting list or just share your email, that link will also be in a description so that you will get all of the notifications for when enrollment actually opens up. But the Liberation Code Academy, of course, is dedicated to liberating thyself from within, with spiritual guidance, mental, emotional, spiritual, as well as just having an all-encompassing experience and learning more about yourself. Yes, Earthkeeper, grandmother Earthkeeper Selina will be one of our guardians of the family. So thank you for
Yes.
officially coming in with that. So we look forward to your monthly contributions and
Mhm.
wisdom that you share with us within that on the private end. So thank you.
I look forward to it. I thank you for the invitation, and I honor that and acknowledge your willingness to bring together community in the way that you're doing through the academy. It's so much needed in the
Thank
world. Yeah,
Thank you.
that
Yeah,
that's
I enjoy doing it. It's just
yeah.
second nature. So definitely a part of the purpose. So
There you go.
yes, well, enjoy the rest of your evening, and
Thank you.
we will get this uploaded onto YouTube,
Yeah,
and we shall see each other
yeah.
again
Very soon. Very
very,
soon.
very soon. Thank you.
Love and peace to you and to all. And thank you
Thank
again,
you.
Malia. Daho.